Hello everyone. Welcome back to Reddit Night, your favorite Reddit reading channel. Today we are back on our /paranormal. Don't forget to like and subscribe. My dad saved my graduation. After his death. So, my dad died almost 7 years ago, when I was 15, and this happened already 3 years later. I was close to graduation, and especially my final exam in physics gave me a hard time, because I really couldn't get to grips with relativity and that shenanigans. Anyway, one morning, I was really tired, haven't slept well, or at all I should say, and I was about to fall asleep in the last row in my classroom, when, just as I was beginning to close my eyes, I heard my dad's voice, clear as day, say hey, blank, wake up and listen. It was so clearly his voice. The tone, the melody, when he was calling my name in a happy manner, he was almost kinda singing, it was him. I was baffled for a moment, but when rebooted after that moment of shock, it was exactly the moment when our teacher dropped a very important hint to what the final exam's theme will be. I would have totally slept through that, hadn't my dad woken me up. What's important about this is that with the teacher's hint, I realized that I was learning the wrong stuff and would totally have failed the final. Bonus, less paranormal, but a beautiful end to the story. That same night I had a dream, me and my dad sat on our porch, chatting, laughing, and, which I remember very distinctly, we were drinking his favorite beer together. So when I was drinking the last drops, the sun was setting, I looked to the chair next to me and my dad was gone. I just once again heard him say hey, wake up. And that's the exact moment when my alarm clock began ringing. Thank you to everyone who read this completely. It's a story I kept for myself for 4 years. Heard a gunshot in my dream. Woke up to my mom telling me my aunt shot herself. This happened a few years back and I never told my mother or my father since it was a sensitive subject. Had a dream my friend Dylan and I were in a 2-story home. He was showing me his new guitar. We're having a good time, joking around, when we hear a gunshot downstairs. We look at each other and book it down the stairs. When I hit the bottom step, I wake up to my mom on my bed in tears. She tells me my aunt who lived on the other side of the country, has committed suicide. When I ask what happened, she told me she shot herself. We weren't ever close as she lived 1,500 miles away from me. My father had a rough childhood. She was his half-sister and a bit older than he was. I never met her in person, it was just such an odd moment. Like I said, I've never told anyone. Just my current husband and my best friend at the time. I never knew what to make of it. My dying son may have seen a sister he never knew or heard about. Years ago, in early 2000, I suffered a bad miscarriage. I was about 10 weeks along. My husband and I weren't able to find out if it was a boy or a girl due to how early it was in my pregnancy and the technology wasn't what it is today. About a week before all hell broke loose, I had a very vivid dream, which I still remember to this day, that I gave birth to a baby girl who looked back at me and smiled. That's the only part I remember. She popped out, turned around, and smiled. A week later I started bleeding. I have never mentioned my miscarriage to my kids. Never even talked about it. Fast forward to present day. My husband and I have 2 wonderful boys. Our 17-year-old, however, has terminal cancer. He is also autistic. I mention the autism because over the past few years he has always asked what, our cat that passed away years ago, is doing in heaven. Just last week, he started to talk about his sister in heaven. My hands are shaking as I type this. He mentions his grandfathers, both of whom have passed, and different people he met along the way. I never told him about my pregnancy loss, and I don't think he'd understand if he found out. I've heard that some people with a terminal illness can sometimes see things, and he has said some pretty wild things thanks to the autism. But he asks what his sister in heaven is doing. Just a thought, but I think our first child is with her family members, and watching over us. Edit, wow. Thank you so much to everyone who has reached out to express sympathy and sending me heartfelt messages. I can't possibly tell you what it means. This is his story. Admin, I'm sorry if a link is not allowed. This is where we are. The doctor put him on oral chemo drugs, on a 28-day cycle. He had a bad reaction and kept getting sick. It tore my heart out to see his health decline. My husband and I made the decision to stop all chemo, since his situation is beyond help at this point. The oral chemo would buy us time, but it would put him through hell. Since he is terminal, we just left it in God's hands. He is doing well now, and according to the hospice nurse, patients who stop chemo tend to have a rebound. He's at that stage. But we know what's next. Religious tangent coming up, I know he won't be alone. My dad, My mother-in-law, and countless other family members will take care of him until I get up there, whenever that will be. Again, thank you, thank you, thank you to everyone who has reached out. My friend said goodbye the night he died. This happened in 2012 and has haunted me/filled me with love ever since. I woke up one Saturday morning and remembered dreaming about a friend Dan apologizing that we'd not spoken in a couple of months and saying goodbye. It made me smile because I missed him and it was really nice to see him, even in a dream. I got up, went to meet my sister for breakfast, and while walking down the road I was logging on to FB to send Dan a message about the dream and just say hi. I wouldn't normally be on FB this early but wanted to send the message while the dream was still fresh and happy. A mutual friend of ours had put up a status telling everyone that Dan had had an accident and died during the night. I was, and still am 8 years later, absolutely devastated. He was one of my favorite people who could make me smile without even trying. But I feel so comforted knowing that as he died he came and said goodbye. I've told only a few people about this because it means so much to me, but I'm not really sure anyone has truly believed or understood the significance of it. Anyway, this is my story, I just thought I'd share. Edit, thank you also so much for your lovely words and for sharing your amazing stories. I really hope you're right and he visited because our relationship was important to him. I wasn't very good at expressing myself back then, so never really told him how much he meant to me. I really hope he knew though. I witnessed something with a few friends in the woods 9 years ago that haunts me till this day. Me and some of my buddies used to go to this place called Profile Rock in Freetown, Massachusetts, late at night, sometimes 2 to 3 in the morning. One night during the summer I go to Profile Rock with 3 of my friends at 2:30 a.m. just to mess about and explore. Now I didn't know this at the time, but Profile Rock and the area we were in is part of an area called the Bridgewater Triangle, which is a site of alleged paranormal activities and also one of the most haunted areas in the state I live in. Continuing on, we climbed Profile Rock itself, stayed on top of it for maybe 3 to 4 hours, and we all decided to leave. Now as you're leaving Profile Rock you have to go down this long path that's about 2 miles long to get back to where we parked our car. 2 of my friends are walking about 20 to 30 feet in front of me and my other friend. Now I'll never know why I turned around. I didn't have a feeling like someone was watching us. I just simply turned around because besides the moonlight shining through the trees in certain areas we only had cell phone flashlights to make our way around. I remember turning around and seeing someone running at us from about 150 feet away full speed. What threw me off wasn't that they were running at us, it was how they were running. You know how a zombie walks in a horror movie dragging one of its legs, almost limping? That's how this someone was running at us. At first I didn't say anything and possibly assumed it was one of my friends or someone that was already in there who got injured and needed assistance. Until this someone made it to an area of the path where the moonlight reached through the trees and gave them some perspective. What I saw still chokes me up till this day. You ever see a child try to draw a person? How they make a stick figure most of the time? That's exactly how this someone looked. I caught maybe a 10 seconds glance as it was running under the moonlight lit trees, but I saw no distinguishable facial features, no eyes, no mouth and no ears. Its arms and legs looked like that of an extremely malnourished person, only completely black, and didn't look like skin or any type of clothing from what I could see. I almost can't even describe it tbh, and you could blatantly tell it wasn't a mask or one of those Halloween blacked out suits. I recall calling out to my friend in a panicked voice, who was walking with me, who was now maybe 10 feet ahead of myself. I shined my cell phone light on him as he was looking where I was just looking, and I could tell right away from his facial expression that I wasn't seeing things. It was now maybe 40 feet away from us, if that, almost the same distance as our friends in front of us, and me and my friend just took flight and started running. My 2 other friends in front of shot around and asked us what was wrong, and I replied, just run, and all 4 of us jetted for our car. I remember taking a glance back as we were running, and there was nothing there, even though whatever was chasing us would certainly be on our tails by now. We all hopped in the car, and my friend who was walking with me yells, "Dude, tell me you seen that." What the free CK was that I told him I seen the same thing. I asked him to describe to all of us what he saw, and he described literally the exact same thing I witnessed. By now my other 2 friends are thinking we were joking around or messing with them. Until my friend who was walking with me swore on his father, who has passed away not even a month ago, that he's telling the truth. I was kind of frustrated tbh, because I couldn't believe my other 2 friends didn't see it as they turned around to question why we were running, but it doesn't matter now. We actually went back there with a few more people the day after and witnessed nothing, of course. I'll never know what it was or who it was or what it wanted. But I know one thing, there's no way in hell 2 people both imagined seeing some stick figure specter in the woods. TLDR, me and my friend witnessed a stick figure looking figure chasing us in one of the most haunted areas in my state. I am still processing this. I drive for Uber and I stopped at this house a few hours ago. As I'm waiting, a light turned on upstairs and this little boy was turning the lights on, waving at me, then turning them off. He did it a few times and was smiling and looked like he may be laughing. I waved back and smiled, and even though it was late, I didn't even question it. The girl got in my car a few minutes later. I thought she took so long because the kid was hers, and I commented how cute the kid upstairs was, and her face went pale. She looked me straight in the eye and told me no one lives upstairs. I laughed because it's spoopy season, and I thought she was messing with me. I stopped shortly after I looking in the rearview mirror and saw that she was starting to cry. She took a few deep breaths and asked me what I saw. So, I told her about the little boy turning on the lights. She called her boyfriend, who was still there and was full on freaking out. Turns out her boyfriend had several people mention the kid that plays with the lights and waves. I would have thought it was a joke, but she was shaking and almost had a panic attack about this. Her boyfriend was woken up by the call and the entire downstairs was dark when I picked her up. I have no other explanation for this because of her reaction. My hair is still standing on end thinking about it. Edit, thanks for the award. I honestly didn't think this story would be received so well. Oh my goodness. Thank you all so much for the awards. I'm blown away. For those worried about the child and suspect foul play, I did place a call to the local police and they did confirm that there is no child at the residence, although they wouldn't tell me if the upstairs apartment was occupied or vacant. I am driving again tonight, so I will try to stop by on a break and see if it happens again. If it does, I will have my camcorder to try and capture anything out of the ordinary. I could not hear anything, but he did seem like a little kid that was having fun and being goofy rather than being in any distress. I have been around enough kids to tell the difference, as I used to work in a daycare. Thanks again for your enthusiasm. This isn't my first encounter like this, and I'm trying to capture more and more. I hope to share more in the future. Update: so I went back to the house. I sat there for a bit and nothing happened. With the moon being so bright, it was really cloudy yesterday. I could sort of see into the window where I saw him. The lady wasn't kidding, there is nothing up there. No photos or furniture that could be seen. The app's on the second floor, but it has those long windows that almost reach the floor. Anyway, there was no movement inside. However, as I started to drive away, I saw a kid in the yard running, but there was no noise to it, no crunching leaves or anything. I had my window open, radio off. I would be able to hear footfalls or at the very least the shuffling of leaves. It was just a glimpse and I waited for something else, but there was nothing. I think it is safe to say that there is something on that property. I have to look into the history of the property. It is a really rough part of the city and many people die in that area yearly, but I am still curious that turns up. That's it for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.